the beginning of the story, Juan arrives at work in a rush, slightly out of breath and mentally preparing herself for what she assumes will be an important company-wide announcement. The atmosphere in the office is unusually tense and lively at the same time, with employees gathered in groups, whispering and guessing about what is about to happen. There's a sense that something major is going to be revealed today, most likely the official introduction of the company's newly appointed general manager. Juan is already a little late, which makes her anxious, but she quickly realizes that the event has not started yet. The new general manager has not even been introduced, so technically she has not missed anything critical. Still, she cannot shake off the feeling that she should have arrived earlier. The anticipation in the room continues to grow as everyone waits for the mysterious figure who is supposed to change the direction of the company. When the announcement moment finally arrives, the lights, attention, and focus of the entire room shift toward the stage area. Employees straighten their posture, trying to catch a glimpse of the new leader who everyone has been talking about for days. However, instead of a dramatic entrance, they are met with an unexpected situation. The chair designated for the new general manager remains completely empty. There is no sign of him anywhere. Confusion spreads immediately. People begin whispering among themselves, exchanging uncertain looks. Some wonder whether he has been delayed, while others think it might be a deliberate entrance strategy to create suspense. The absence of the main figure only makes the atmosphere more mysterious and slightly unsettling. At that very same time, the man everyone is waiting for, Jiang, is not present at the announcement at all. Instead, he is somewhere completely different, unexpectedly close to Juan. In a surprising and almost surreal turn of events, he's casually interacting with her and even flirting in a way that catches her completely off guard. The tone of the interaction is so strange and sudden that Juan feels as though reality itself has shifted without warning. Before she can process what is happening or respond in any meaningful way, the entire scene abruptly dissolves. Juan wakes up suddenly, realizing she is lying in her own bed. It takes her a few seconds to understand that everything she just experienced was only a dream. She exhales in relief, half laughing at how absurd and vivid it felt. Still, the emotional intensity of the dream lingers in her mind, making her question why she keeps dreaming about someone she does not even know well. Trying to push the thoughts aside, Juan gets ready for work. While preparing, the narration shifts to her internal thoughts, revealing more about her personality and life goals. She explains to herself that her primary motivation in life is extremely practical, earning money and supporting her father. She does not believe in romantic fantasies and considers them unnecessary distractions. In her view, the idea of a perfect man is unrealistic, and she has neither the energy nor the interest to test relationships one after another in search of something that may not even exist. Because of this mindset, she had already decided long ago that staying single would be the most efficient and stable path for her life. It gives her control, focus, and freedom from emotional complications. However, despite this strong conviction, something has recently started to disturb her sense of stability. Ever since the company hired a new general manager, her previously calm life has been interrupted by strange and embarrassing dreams, always involving him in ways she cannot explain. The story then shifts backward in time to 2 weeks earlier, where the real origin of these events begins to unfold. The company had organized a team-building retreat at a luxurious resort, something completely unexpected for the employees. The place was far more upscale than anything they had experienced before, which immediately sparked curiosity and excitement among the staff. People wondered who had authorized such an expensive and generous arrangement. Juan talks about this with her friend Lin, expressing mild surprise. Even though she has not met the new general manager in person, she assumes he must be quite influential and possibly generous to allow such a high-budget event. Lin agrees, and they both speculate about what kind of leader he might be. However, their casual conversation is interrupted when Juan's supervisor approaches her with an urgent request. She is instructed to immediately bring a newly developed liquor product from the R&D department. The reason is simple but important. The newly appointed general manager has specifically requested to taste it during the event. The tone makes it clear that this is not optional. Juan, already tired and somewhat irritated, heads toward the bar area carrying the product. On her way, she quietly complains to herself. She feels overworked, hungry, and under pressure even though she has not yet even seen the new boss in person. In her frustration, she mutters that this mysterious general manager has already managed to make her life difficult without doing anything directly. Unbeknownst to her, Jiang is nearby, quietly seated in a position where he can hear everything she says. He does not reveal his presence or react openly, but he listens carefully, observing her personality through her candid complaints. At the bar, an unexpected mistake occurs. One of the staff members accidentally serves Juan's specially prepared liquor to Jiang instead of delivering it properly. Jiang examines the bottles with a critical expression. He smells them, evaluates them briefly, and without much hesitation dismisses several samples, even throwing them aside. His judgment appears harsh and immediate as he declares that they are not satisfactory. When Juan finally arrives at the bar, she is shocked to see her product in his hands. Realizing what is happening, she immediately confronts him and demands an explanation. Her frustration builds quickly when he casually suggests that the product may have been discarded with the others. She refuses to accept such a dismissive evaluation and insists that he cannot judge her work without properly testing it. She acknowledges that she cannot speak for the entire research department, but she stands firmly behind her own creation. Their disagreement escalates into a direct confrontation. Just as the tension reaches its peak, Juan's supervisor arrives and respectfully addresses Jiang as the new general manager. At that moment, everything clicks into place for Juan. The man she's been arguing with so passionately is actually her superior. The realization hits her hard, draining her confidence instantly. Her voice fades and she stands silently, overwhelmed by embarrassment and disbelief at what she has just done. Later, still processing the situation, Juan finds herself in the resort pool alone with her thoughts. She continues venting internally, insisting that she was not wrong and that Jiang's behavior was unnecessarily harsh. She even questions whether she should lose her job over a single disagreement with someone so arrogant. What she does not realize is that Jiang is also present nearby, quietly listening to her entire monologue. After a while, Jiang finally speaks up, asking calmly whether she has finished or if she still intends to continue insulting him. The sudden interruption shocks Juan so much that she nearly loses her balance in the water. Embarrassed and flustered, she tries to leave immediately, but in her panic she loses her sense of direction and slips back into the pool. The situation becomes even more complicated when it is revealed that she cannot swim. Without hesitation, Jiang reacts quickly and pulls her out of the water, lifting her into his arms. Juan, disoriented and weak, instinctively holds onto him. Despite his irritation, he manages the situation and ensures she is safe. Moments later, she loses consciousness. Looking down at her, Jiang sighs and mutters to himself that whether he intended to or not, this strange girl has already become someone he will not easily forget. The next morning, Juan wakes up in an unfamiliar room. She looks around and quickly realizes it is not hers. It looks like a man's room. Panic sets in as she understands she spent the night in Jiang's suite. Her friend Lin calls, asking where she disappeared, but Juan is too distracted to answer properly. Soon, the employees gather for their first meeting with the new boss. Jiang turns out to be strict and intimidating. He tells the R&D department they have 1 month to show serious progress, otherwise they should prepare to find new jobs. Everyone is nervous. Juan, however, has a different problem. She keeps imagining him in a bathrobe instead of the expensive suit he is actually wearing. She can barely look at him because her imagination keeps betraying her. After the meeting, Jiang appears composed, but he is also thinking about Juan. He is surprised that such a junior employee dared speak to him so boldly. He also remembers how passionately she defended her work and begins to wonder whether her liquor might actually be good. Juan tells Lin everything that happened. Lin warns her that openly offending the boss could cause serious trouble and she should apologize. Instead of talking about that, Juan nervously asks Lin whether it has ever happened to her that a fully dressed man appears in her mind without clothes. Lin stares at her and immediately suspects she has developed a crush. Juan denies it, insisting she is only hallucinating. Lin jokes that either she has gone crazy or she desperately needs sleep. Juan decides sleep must be the answer. Meanwhile, Jiang finally tastes the liquor he had dismissed earlier. To his surprise, it is actually very good. That night he knocks on Juan's room door. She opens it and is shocked to see him standing there. He calmly explains that when she fainted he had no idea where her room was, so he had no choice but to bring her to his. He makes it clear nothing inappropriate happened. But while he is talking, Juan's mind betrays her again. She imagines him removing his shirt and walking closer. In her vision, he leans over her on the bed and softly tells her that since it is the middle of the night, she should stop worrying and sleep. Then the illusion breaks and she realizes she imagined everything. Frightened by her own thoughts, Juan leaves her room and walks through the empty corridor. There she accidentally bumps into Jiang. He asks if she is okay, but once again her imagination takes over. In her fantasy, Jiang notices the way she is staring at him and teasingly says her eyes are asking for a kiss. He moves closer and Juan blurts out for him to stay away. In reality, Jiang only sees her acting strangely. He notices she's about to back into a dangerous stack of boxes and quickly grabs her wrist to pull her to safety. They lose balance and fall together. Before Juan can react, a heavy box falls from above. Jiang turns and shields her with his body, taking the impact himself. The hit is strong and Juan is shocked. For the first time she realizes that beneath his cold attitude, Jiang actually protected her without hesitation. In the following scene, Jiang is treating the injury he got while protecting Juan. While applying medicine to the bruise on his back, he casually tells her that he finally tasted her liquor and admits it was much better than he first assumed. Juan hears the compliment, but instead of feeling happy, she becomes nervous. Every time she stays close to him, those embarrassing romantic hallucinations return, and she desperately wants to leave before that happens again. Just as she is about to escape, Jiang stops her. He says the wound is in an awkward place and he cannot reach it properly, so he asks if she can help apply the medicine. To Juan, this sounds like a disaster. She cannot explain her strange problem to him, and refusing would look suspicious, so she reluctantly agrees. As soon as she gets close, her imagination starts acting up again. In her mind, Jiang has already taken off his shirt, standing in front of her casually, while in reality he has not even unbuttoned it yet. Flustered, she covers part of her face with one hand and starts applying the medicine while barely looking. Since she's staring at the wrong place, she's not even touching the wound. Jiang watches her in confusion and points out that she is missing the injury entirely. He adds that he has not even removed his shirt yet, which makes her realize she imagined everything again. She turns red from embarrassment. Her fantasy makes it even worse. The imaginary Jiang teasingly asks whether she wants him to take off the rest of his clothes too. Juan nearly panics and silently begs fate to stop this madness. She keeps thinking she has no interest in love and absolutely does not want to fall for Jiang, yet her own mind refuses to cooperate. Jiang notices her muttering and assumes she is deliberately ignoring him, though he does not understand why. Determined to finish quickly, Juan wraps a cloth over her eyes so she will not see anything and starts applying the medicine by touch alone. Unfortunately, she presses far too hard, making Jiang wince in pain. It feels less like treatment and more like revenge, but she finally finishes. Later, Jiang drives her home. Before she leaves the car, he repeats that her liquor was actually good and not as bad as he originally said. Then he simply leaves, and Juan is left wondering whether he is cold, arrogant, or just impossible to understand. At home, her mood drops immediately when she sees her father drunk outside. Soon after, she receives a message about another unpaid credit bill caused by his spending. She does not have enough money to cover it, so she reluctantly messages her friend Lin and asks to borrow some. The next morning, Jiang wakes up to find his close friend Holeng in his apartment. Jiang asks why he is there, and Holeng first jokes that he came to cook breakfast for him. Eventually, he admits the truth. His parents arranged a blind date, so he hid at Jiang's place to avoid it. During breakfast, Jiang unexpectedly asks whether Holeng has ever tasted something so unique that he could never forget it. Holeng assumes he means a person, not food, and starts talking about first love, saying he once felt that way 15 years ago. Jiang immediately denies it and says he is only talking about liquor. Holeng laughs and says someone as rigid and emotionless as Jiang would never understand romance. Jiang gets annoyed and insists he's not heartless just because he follows rules. Meanwhile, Juan arrives at work and thanks Lin for lending her money. Lin tells her not to stress about paying it back quickly because she already knows Juan is always struggling due to her father's debts. When Juan reaches Jiang's office, the same problem starts again. She sees him and immediately cannot tell whether the image in front of her is real or another illusion. Jiang notices she is late and tells her she cannot enter yet, but she is too distracted to process his words properly. Later in the lab, Juan works on improving her liquor formula while Jiang stands nearby observing her process. He wants to understand how she made the drink. She is already exhausted from trying to ignore her fantasies, and then the fake version of Jiang appears again beside the real one. The imagined Jiang whispers flirtatious comments while the real Jiang asks serious questions about her work. Juan ends up waving her hand in the air trying to dismiss the fake one, which makes the real Jiang think she is behaving strangely. He asks why she is not concentrating, and she can only sit down holding her head, feeling overwhelmed. That night, Jiang sits alone in the bar. Holeng notices that he has been staying up unusually late recently. He comments that Juan's liquor is not especially strong, but its taste is memorable. Jiang admits that this is exactly the first love taste Holeng was talking about. While saying it, he is clearly thinking not only about the drink but also about Juan herself. He cannot tell whether he likes the liquor or the girl who made it. Holeng immediately tells him to pursue her because this is the first time he has ever shown interest in anyone. At the same time, Juan goes to a convenience store in the same building to buy food. On the way back, she unexpectedly runs into Jiang in the elevator. She tries to avoid eye contact, but he says he wanted to talk to her and asks why she did not answer his calls. Before she can reply, the elevator suddenly stops between floors. Juan becomes nervous in the enclosed space. Seeing that she is frightened, Jiang instinctively pulls her into a comforting hug. Since they are stuck for a while, he starts talking to distract her. He asks why she never let him taste the finished version of her liquor. Hwan explains she wanted him to try it only after she perfected it. At that exact moment, the imaginary Jiang appears again and leans close, teasing that maybe he should taste her instead. Hwan gestures awkwardly, trying to make the hallucination disappear. The real Jiang notices her strange gestures and starts leaning closer, making her panic. She assumes the fake version is influencing reality. But in truth, he only reaches past her to grab a bag of chips because he is hungry. Flustered, Hwan offers him her burger instead. The fake Jiang happily accepts in her mind, while the real Jiang simply takes the food without understanding why she looks like she can barely breathe. Eventually, the elevator is repaired. The technicians open the door and Hwan rushes out, desperate to escape both the real and imaginary Jiang. She goes back to the lab, hoping to calm down. Jiang notices she looks pale and brings her a glass of water. Hwan misunderstands and quickly promises she will complete the liquor and report to him by tomorrow, thinking he came to pressure her. At the same time, the imaginary Jiang appears and accuses her of lying. Jiang asks whether she really sees him as that kind of harsh person. His tone is unexpectedly gentle. Hwan freezes, wondering if he somehow knows what she is imagining. When he later catches her hiding a sketch she made, he only tells her that if she has any problems, she can speak honestly to him. After he leaves, Hwan begins questioning whether Jiang is really as rude as she first believed. For the first time, she considers that maybe she misunderstood him. The next morning, Hwan excitedly rushes into Jiang's office with the first finished bottle of her liquor, eager for him to taste it. But when she enters, she finds him asleep at his desk. To make sure it is really him and not another hallucination, she carefully touches his arm. He does not wake and she confirms he is real. Suddenly, she remembers Lin's joke: if she wants the strange visions to stop, maybe she should just kiss him once and get it over with. Seeing the opportunity, Hwan nervously leans closer. She closes her eyes and prepares to kiss him. At that exact moment, Jiang opens his eyes. He sees her leaning in, but instead of stopping her, he quietly closes his eyes again. He seems willing to let it happen, but Hwan loses courage at the last second. She pulls away, panics, and runs out of the office before he can say anything. After she leaves, Jiang remains sitting there, wondering whether she really intended to kiss him or whether he imagined it. Later, Hwan notices her supervisor secretly searching for other jobs online. When she asks why, he says he has not been able to meet Jiang's expectations, and the new boss clearly does not keep useless employees around. Trying to cheer him up, Hwan says that even if Jiang got down on his knees and asked her out, she would still refuse. Unfortunately for her, Jiang is standing right behind and hears every word. This time, instead of staying expressionless, he looks genuinely irritated. Hwan is a hardworking young woman whose entire life revolves around one goal: earning enough money to support her father. Because of her family's financial struggles, she has no interest in dating or romance. She believes love only creates unnecessary problems, so she has already decided to stay single and focus only on work. But everything changes after a new general manager, Jiang, joins her company. Before meeting him properly, Hwan begins having strange fantasies about him. In reality, Jiang is strict, serious, and always impeccably dressed, but in her imagination he constantly appears in intimate situations, acting playful and flirtatious. These visions confuse her so much that she starts losing sleep and questioning her own sanity. The trouble begins during a company retreat at an expensive resort organized by the new manager. Hwan, impressed by the luxurious location, jokes with her friend Lin that at least the new boss has better taste than the old management. Her good mood disappears when her supervisor orders her to bring a special liquor she developed for the event because Jiang wants to test the company's latest products. While carrying the bottle, Hwan complains out loud about how the new boss is already making everyone suffer. She has no idea Jiang is sitting nearby and hears every word. At the tasting area, a waitress accidentally places Hwan's bottle in front of Jiang. Without even trying it, he judges the drinks by smell and throws several bottles away, including hers. Furious, Hwan confronts him and insists he has no right to criticize her work without tasting it. She defends her creation passionately, but in the middle of their argument, her supervisor arrives and addresses him respectfully as General Manager Jiang. Hwan freezes, realizing she has just openly insulted her boss. Later, still angry, Hwan vents about him in the resort pool, convinced she was right to stand up for herself. Jiang is also in the pool and listens silently until he finally reveals himself. Embarrassed, Hwan tries to run away but slips and falls into the water. She cannot swim, so Jiang immediately pulls her out. Being so close to him makes her dizzy and she faints in his arms. Jiang is left puzzled by her unpredictable behavior. The next morning, Juan wakes up in an unfamiliar room and panics when she realizes she spent the night in Jiang's suite. At work, Jiang turns out to be an intimidating leader who harshly warns the research department that if they fail to improve within a month, they can all start looking for new jobs. While he speaks seriously, Juan's mind betrays her again, imagining him in inappropriate situations, making it impossible for her to focus. She confides in Lin, explaining that whenever she sees Jiang, her imagination turns wild and she sees him in romantic scenarios. Lin jokes that she either needs more sleep or has a crush. Juan rejects the idea completely, insisting she has no feelings for him. Meanwhile, Jiang becomes curious about her. He secretly tests the liquor he dismissed earlier and realizes it is actually excellent. That surprises him because Juan had defended it so fiercely. He visits her room to clarify that he only brought her there after she fainted and that nothing happened. But his presence triggers another fantasy and Juan can barely remain calm. One night, they meet in the hallway. Jiang notices her acting strangely and tries to help when she nearly bumps into something. He pulls her out of danger and they fall together. When a heavy box starts falling above them, Jiang shields her and gets hurt. Juan is surprised that the supposedly cold boss protected her without hesitation. As he treats his injury, he apologizes for misjudging her liquor. Then he asks her to apply medicine to the wound he cannot reach. Juan panics because she knows being close to him will trigger more fantasies. She tries to help while covering her eyes, making everything even more awkward. Jiang notices how nervous she is but cannot understand why. Outside work, Juan's life is difficult. Her father often wastes money and leaves her to pay his debts, forcing her to borrow from Lin. This is why she works so hard and refuses emotional distractions. Jiang, however, keeps thinking about her. He tells his friend that he has tasted something unforgettable. His friend assumes he means first love, but Jiang insists he means liquor. Still, even he begins to wonder if he is talking about the drink or the woman who created it. At the office, Jiang starts paying more attention to Juan's work. He watches her create the liquor and asks about the ingredients. She continues having fantasies while he stands beside her, which makes her nearly lose her mind. He interprets her strange reactions as avoidance and becomes curious. One evening they get trapped in an elevator together. Juan is terrified in confined spaces and Jiang instinctively hugs her to calm her down. While talking, he asks why she never lets him properly taste her liquor. She says she wanted to perfect it first. During the conversation, Juan's fantasies become worse, making the situation almost unbearable for her. Jiang only sees her breathing heavily and acting nervous, so he worries she is unwell. Eventually, Juan finishes the liquor and proudly brings it to Jiang. She finds him asleep at his desk. Remembering Lin's ridiculous advice that kissing him might stop the fantasies, she leans in to try. Jiang opens his eyes, notices what she is doing and closes them again, secretly hoping she will continue. But Juan loses courage and runs away. Jiang is left wondering if she really intended to kiss him. Later, Jiang overhears Juan boldly telling a coworker that even if he begged her to date him, she would refuse. The comment unexpectedly annoys him. That same day, he waits outside to offer her a ride home, only to see her leave on a motorcycle with another man. Jealous without understanding why, Jiang follows them. He spends the night unable to sleep, obsessing over who the man might be. The next day, Juan gets caught up in a bizarre situation involving a celebrity named Gino. During a chance encounter, paparazzi swarm them and Gino pretends Juan is his girlfriend to protect his image. The crowd and cameras trigger Juan's social anxiety, rooted in painful childhood experiences. She panics and runs away. Jiang sees her distress and follows. When Gino apologizes, Jiang becomes defensive and clearly jealous. To Jiang's shock, Juan agrees to pretend to date Gino if he helps promote her liquor. Jiang cannot stop thinking about her. He researches her symptoms and realizes she suffers from social anxiety. He begins quietly helping her, bringing her books and writing notes about how to manage anxiety. When Juan discovers this, she is deeply touched. No one has ever cared enough to understand her struggles. Overwhelmed by gratitude and growing feelings, Juan finally kisses him. Jiang immediately responds and their first kiss becomes far more emotional than either expected. But when Jiang casually mentions marriage, Juan panics. She has painful memories of a previous relationship where her ex's family rejected her because of her father's problems. Since then, she has associated marriage with rejection and humiliation. After the kiss, she avoids Jiang completely. He confronts her, asking why she acts affectionate one moment and pushes him away the next. She asks him to forget the kiss, but Jiang refuses. For the first time, he openly says he wants to marry her. His honesty scares her even more because despite all her efforts to stay detached, she has already fallen for him. Jiang's parents notice that he has been acting distracted and ask about the woman he mentioned before. When they learn he already brought up marriage and frightened her, they immediately scold him. His father tells him no one talks about marriage that early, and his mother urges him to apologize before he ruins his chance completely. Jiang realizes they are right but still has no idea how to fix things with Juan. At work, preparations for the liquor promotion continue, but Jiang looks unusually irritated. Even though the celebrity collaboration is moving forward successfully, he shows no satisfaction. His mood worsens because Gino is also going through personal drama with his actress girlfriend and vents his frustration during meetings, which only adds to the tension. Meanwhile, Juan is with Lin when they run into Lin's former boyfriend. He acts friendly, mostly because his company is now involved in the business deal with Gino. Lin sees through him and bluntly points out that the successful collaboration happened because of Juan, the very person he used to dismiss. She ignores him and leaves with Juan. During lunch, a phone suddenly lands in their food. It turns out Jiang threw it aside during an argument nearby. He comes over, notices Juan's injured foot and hands her bandages. He pretends the items are from the company so she will not feel awkward, but it is obvious he personally brought them. Before leaving, he hesitates and quietly offers to take her home. Juan wants to accept, but painful memories stop her. She remembers how her ex-boyfriend's mother humiliated her, saying she would only ruin someone's family just like her own mother had ruined hers. The memory overwhelms her and she starts crying. Jiang immediately becomes concerned and asks what happened, but she avoids the truth, telling him only that old memories surfaced. She admits she knows he cares for her and appreciates it, but asks him to let her handle things in her own way. With no choice, Jiang leaves disappointed. As he walks away, he overhears Gino speaking to his real girlfriend. Gino casually explains that his fake relationship with Juan was only for publicity and means nothing. He arrogantly adds that many women try to use his fame, but only his girlfriend matters to him. Jiang is furious. Believing Juan has been used, he storms over and punches Gino. The two fight until people gather around them. Juan arrives and tries to stop them, but no one hears her. Thinking quickly, she grabs a fire extinguisher and sprays it, filling the area with smoke. In the confusion, she grabs Jiang's hand and pulls him away. As they run, Jiang starts imagining them as a bride and groom escaping together. For the first time, he is the one lost in romantic fantasies. Back in the car, he jokes that he has never been rescued by a woman before and unexpectedly enjoyed it. Juan says nothing, but Jiang is clearly happy just being with her. That night, he cannot sleep and keeps trying to text her, deleting each message before sending. He has fallen much harder than he expected. The next day, Lin visits Gino to cancel their business agreement after his behavior. He tries to charm her into staying for a meal. Lin initially refuses but changes her mind the moment delicious food arrives. During lunch, Gino reveals his actress girlfriend left him for a director. Lin bluntly says that is worth celebrating. Her honesty shocks him, but it also makes him laugh. For the first time, someone treats him like an ordinary person rather than a celebrity, and he starts warming to her. Back at the office, the team struggles to find a good concept for the liquor launch. Juan hesitantly shares an idea and Jiang immediately likes it. The company uses her plan and the launch event begins successfully. At the event, Juan unexpectedly meets the same former boyfriend. He arrives with a new girlfriend and intentionally mocks Juan in front of others. He reminds his girlfriend that Juan once claimed she never wanted relationships, yet now social media links her to famous men like Gino. Juan is furious but tries to ignore him. Jiang notices her discomfort and asks about the man. He realizes this person has a painful connection to her past. When the ex continues mocking her, Jiang steps in. He places a necklace around Juan's neck and declares in front of everyone that she is his girlfriend. The ex laughs and accuses Juan of seducing every rich man around her. The crowd starts whispering and Juan's social anxiety returns. She cannot handle being the center of attention and runs away. Jiang follows and asks if she is okay. Instead of thanking him, she becomes angry, saying she never needed him to play hero. She clarifies that the man was not even her ex but Lin's former boyfriend, making Jiang's dramatic move unnecessary. Jiang finally stops pretending and confesses. He tells her he only acted because he could not stand seeing her mistreated. Then he says clearly that he loves her. Juan is touched but hides it. She insists she has no feelings for him and still does not want dating or marriage. Jiang calmly says he is willing to wait until she changes her mind. Juan leaves, pretending his confession means nothing but his words stay with her. That night, the memories she buried return again. She goes to see her father, hoping for comfort. His house is a mess and he is lying drunk, barely conscious. At first she is terrified something happened to him, but he wakes and talks about dreaming that her mother came back. Seeing how lonely he is breaks her heart. Juan quietly cleans the house and helps him into bed. After he falls asleep, she sits alone, feeling the weight of everything: her father's debts, her family's collapse, and the fear that her life will repeat the same mistakes. At that moment, another creditor messages her, demanding repayment for money her father borrowed. She replies asking for more time, knowing she has no other choice. As she stares at the message, Juan understands why she keeps pushing Jiang away. It is not because she does not care for him, it is because she already does, and that frightens her more than anything. At the company, Juan and Jiang meet at the same restaurant where he tries to smooth things over. He apologizes for being harsh and admits he handled their earlier argument badly. Juan wants to confess that his words affected her more than she expected, but fear keeps stopping her. She can speak freely about work, but whenever it comes to her feelings, she becomes guarded. Lin soon confronts Juan, admitting she overheard Jiang's confession. She teases her for hiding such an obvious situation. Juan tries to blame the misunderstanding on Lin's ex, but Lin points out the truth. None of that changes the fact that Jiang openly likes her. She tells Juan to stop hiding behind her no dating, no marriage rule and at least give him a chance. Lin suggests something simple: agree to one date, then decide. If he feels right, continue. If not, walk away. Juan cannot deny the logic, though she still hesitates. At the company, an emergency happens when Gino's promotion unexpectedly makes their liquor go viral. Orders pour in overnight and the whole office is called back to work. Jiang organizes everyone, assigning tasks and keeping things under control. He is pleased, but what makes him happiest is seeing Juan proud of her work. She has finally created something successful, and he knows how much that means to her. Lin goes to see Gino and scolds him for promoting the product without securing a proper deal. Gino does not care about payment anymore. He says he will happily continue promoting the company for free if Lin helps him repair his broken relationship. She bluntly tells him to forget that girl because she has already moved on. Gino argues that he is attractive, rich, and famous, so being called foolish annoys him. Lin only laughs, saying he knows exactly what his problem is but refuses to face it. Jiang begins finding quiet ways to show affection. He watches Juan working through the glass of the lab and draws a smiley face on the window before leaving. It is childish, but Juan smiles at it. She realizes his attention is not fading, he is still patiently waiting. Meanwhile, jealousy grows elsewhere. A rival company becomes angry after seeing Juan's product gain attention, especially because it was her idea that launched the campaign. They hire Gino to promote their own brand, hoping to steal the spotlight. At the same time, gossip spreads online. Many people begin insulting Juan, accusing her of using both Gino and Jiang to advance her career. Lin urges her to defend herself, but Juan refuses. She says strangers do not matter. She only wants to care about the people who truly matter to her. To clear her name, Lin arranges a live stream. Gino publicly explains that he only pretended Juan was his girlfriend to avoid reporters and that she never manipulated him. Then Jiang unexpectedly joins the live broadcast. In front of everyone, he states the truth directly. Juan never pursued him. He was the one who fell for her first. He even says she is the woman he hopes to marry. He asks people to stop insulting her. Juan is deeply touched, but afterwards she scolds him for saying something so personal publicly. Jiang simply hugs her and says there is no reason to hide. While holding her, he kisses her softly, but their moment is interrupted when Juan receives a missed call from her father. She immediately leaves, refusing to let Jiang come with her. She calls it a private family matter, but inside she is ashamed. She has never told him about her father's addiction and debt. The next day, coworkers tease Juan about secretly dating the boss. Jiang suggests everyone celebrate the product launch together. During the event, he quietly asks Juan if the family emergency was resolved. She lies and says yes, but the truth still weighs on her. She keeps wondering whether someone like him could truly stay with someone whose life is so messy. At the party, Gino appears as Jiang's surprise guest. Lin, who had been in a bad mood all evening, brightens immediately when she sees him. Later, Gino follows her outside and asks why she stopped answering his messages. She pretends she does not care anymore because her mission is over, but her expression says otherwise. He keeps pushing, asking if she hates him. She says yes, but he sees through her. Finally, he pulls her into a hug and admits he likes her. She is stunned because she had already started feeling the same but did not want to admit it. Elsewhere, Jiang and Juan slip away from the party. He talks about her upcoming birthday, awkwardly admitting he has never chosen a gift for a woman before because he has never seriously dated anyone. He explains that he never wanted temporary relationships, he only wanted one person who would stay for life. Hearing that, Juan hugs him tightly. She asks about his past, sensing he has secrets too. He says he does and begins to tell her, but the conversation drifts as they spend the evening together. They walk, listen to music, take photos, and simply enjoy being close. For Juan, these ordinary moments feel unfamiliar and precious. At one point, Jiang disappears from sight. Juan panics and starts calling for him. She only realizes then how afraid she is of losing him. Jiang steps out from behind her, smiling, and says he knew she cared. He reminds her of the small dream she once described, a quiet life on her own little island, free from complications. He asks if she can make space for him in that dream. This time, Juan stops running. She tells him yes. She says she wants him there because somewhere along the way she fell in love with him. She admits she is willing to give him a chance but warns him playfully that he is not the only one who can break rules. He spent all this time trying to make her abandon her promise never to date. Now she plans to challenge him too and make him break his own rules. After saying that, she runs off laughing, leaving Jiang standing there, happy, stunned, and more certain than ever that he has finally found the person he wants to stay with. At work, Juan suddenly changes her approach. Instead of avoiding Jiang, she begins teasing him on purpose. She walks into his office full of confidence, and the moment he sees her, he realizes she is planning something. He tries to escape, but she corners him against the wall and playfully asks why such a strict company boss seems afraid of her. Jiang is visibly flustered, while Juan laughs and reveals she was only joking. She then asks a serious question about the company's history, wanting to know who the first female distiller was. Jiang leans close and whispers that it is a secret, then leaves before she can react, making her even more curious. Their playful game continues outside work. Juan offers to drive him home and Jiang agrees. When they arrive, it is the first time she has seen his house. She notices how carefully everything is arranged and compliments the interior. Jiang proudly admits he decorated it himself. Juan takes the chance to tease him again, acting comfortable in his space and making him nervous. Even while cooking together, she uses gentle, flirtatious remarks, warning him not to hurt his hands. Jiang becomes distracted and Juan steals a quick kiss. Before things can go further, someone knocks on the door. Jiang guesses it is his parents and casually asks if she wants to meet them. Juan panics and hides immediately. His parents enter carrying food and begin teasing their son, joking that a young man should be out on dates instead of cooking alone at home. Juan, hiding in plain sight with a mask on, quickly pretends she was there only to clean the house for work. She rushes out before they can ask more. Once she is gone, Jiang's parents immediately realize the truth. They tease him, asking since when a cleaner became someone special enough to hide in his house. Jiang denies it verbally, but his silence gives everything away. Elsewhere, Gino keeps texting Lin constantly, asking ridiculous questions about where to take a girlfriend, what restaurant women like, and why she is ignoring him. When he learns she is busy searching for another spokesperson for the company's product, he immediately cancels his own promotion plans and starts promoting Juan's liquor instead. His reason is obvious: he wants Lin's attention. When he goes to see her in person, he asks why she keeps pretending nothing happened between them. Lin is embarrassed because they crossed a line and spent the night together. She tells him to forget it, but Gino insists he is serious. He says he truly likes her. She refuses to listen, and before he can explain more, fans surround him, forcing him away. Lin leaves, but his words stay in her mind. Juan's birthday arrives and she celebrates quietly with Lin. The two have fun together but both hide their emotions. After drinking, Juan falls asleep on the sofa. Later, Jiang comes to the house. Lin tells him Juan is asleep and leaves them alone. Jiang stays beside her, watching over her. By now he understands that she is hiding more than she says and that her fears are connected to her family. The next morning, Juan wakes up to find Jiang already there, as if he has been waiting for her to open her eyes. The atmosphere feels unusually calm, almost gentle compared to the chaos of recent days. He tells her that he has prepared a special birthday surprise for her, something he has carefully arranged in advance, and without giving her much time to question it, he gently takes her along with him. As they travel together, Juan begins to notice small details she would normally overlook. One of them is an injury on Jiang's hand, slightly bandaged, not serious enough to stop him from moving around but still clearly fresh. When she asks him about it, he brushes it off casually, saying it is nothing important and avoids giving a real explanation. His tone makes it clear that he does not want her to worry, which only makes her more curious, but she decides not to push further. Eventually, Jiang brings her to a small clinic. At first, Juan does not understand why they are there. The confusion deepens when she sees her father inside being treated by a doctor. The doctor calmly explains that her father's condition is related to long-term alcohol dependency, but it is manageable. With consistent treatment and therapy sessions, there is a strong possibility that he can recover significantly within a few months, possibly returning to a stable life. At that moment, everything begins to make sense to Juan. She realizes that this entire arrangement was not random at all. Jiang had orchestrated everything. He had gone out of his way to find help for her father, to arrange treatment, and even the injury on his hand likely came from some situation where he physically helped or intervened during the process of bringing her father to safety. The realization hits her deeply. While she was struggling with stress and uncertainty, he was quietly taking responsibility for problems she had carried for years. When Juan finally sees her father awake, sober and aware of his surroundings, it overwhelms her emotionally. For a moment she almost cannot believe what she is seeing. Her father, who had been lost in addiction for so long, now looks at her with clarity and genuine concern, asking if she is doing all right. That simple question breaks something inside her. Years of distance, pain and emotional exhaustion collapse at once, and she breaks down in tears. Her father, too, becomes emotional. He apologizes sincerely, acknowledging how deeply he neglected her while trapped in addiction and financial ruin. He admits his failures without excuses, which makes the moment even heavier. Juan, despite everything, does not blame him. Instead, she steps forward and hugs him tightly, telling him only one thing: that she wants him to recover, to stay alive, and to remain with her from now on. It is not a request filled with anger or resentment, but with longing and relief. Later, after things settle, Juan finally opens up to Jiang about her past in detail. She explains that her childhood, at least in its early years, was not painful. It was filled with warmth until her father decided to leave his distillery job in hopes of building something bigger. He started a business with the belief that it would improve their lives, but things did not go as planned. The business collapsed, and instead of success, the family was buried under heavy debts. The pressure broke the household apart. Her mother, unable to endure the financial collapse and emotional strain, eventually left. Her father, devastated and overwhelmed, fell into alcoholism as a coping mechanism. From that point on, Juan's life changed completely. Despite everything, she did not abandon responsibility. Knowing her father's original dream was related to distillation, she chose to become a distiller herself. It was not just a career choice, but a way to carry forward what her father could not achieve. Jiang listens to her entire story without interrupting, giving her the space to express everything she had kept inside for so long. When she finishes, he tells her gently that she made the right decision given the circumstances. He adds something even more personal, that if she had taken a different path, their lives might never have crossed. He says honestly that without her, he might have continued living alone, without direction or emotional connection, for the rest of his life. Juan reacts with a small laugh, slightly embarrassed by his seriousness, but Jiang's next words change her expression. He tells her that from now on her pain will also be his responsibility, and she will not have to carry it alone anymore. Hearing this, Juan can no longer hold back her emotions and hugs him tightly, finding comfort in his presence in a way she had never experienced before. As time passes, their relationship naturally deepens. Jiang begins spending more time at her house, and their daily life slowly becomes shared and familiar. It is not always dramatic or intense. Sometimes it is simply cooking together, talking quietly, or sitting in comfortable silence. These ordinary moments gradually strengthen their bond more than any major event. At the same time, Gino continues his chaotic pursuit of Lin. He appears repeatedly with exaggerated confidence and childish behavior, always acting as if fate is deliberately bringing them together. Lin, however, remains frustrated with his persistence. She often scolds him, pointing out that as a well-known celebrity, he could easily date anyone he wants, so there is no reason for him to keep chasing her specifically. Gino responds in a surprisingly sincere way beneath his playful attitude. He insists that fame and attention from others mean nothing to him. What matters is the comfort he feels around Lin, even if she refuses to acknowledge it. Despite his words, Lin continues to avoid fully accepting his feelings, walking away whenever the conversation becomes too serious. Meanwhile, Juan and Jiang's relationship moves into a more serious phase. Without telling him, Juan secretly buys a ring, planning ahead emotionally. She assumes that Jiang will eventually propose and wants to be ready when that moment comes. She even imagines surprising him with her own readiness, hoping it will become a shared step forward rather than something one-sided. One evening, Jiang tells her that he has prepared a surprise for her. Instantly, Juan's thoughts jump to the idea of a proposal. She becomes quietly excited, trying to hide her anticipation while internally convincing herself that this might be the moment she has been subconsciously waiting for. For the first time, she allows herself to imagine a future involving marriage without immediately rejecting it. At the same time, another important turning point appears in her life. Juan receives an offer from a major overseas company, an opportunity that represents everything she has worked toward professionally. It is a rare chance to elevate her career to an international level, something that could completely change her future trajectory. However, instead of feeling purely happy, she becomes emotionally conflicted. The timing could not be worse. Accepting the offer would mean distance, uncertainty, and possible strain on her relationship with Jiang. Refusing it, however, could mean abandoning a dream she has spent years building toward. She is caught between personal ambition and emotional attachment, unable to decide which direction is truly right. She eventually confides in Lin, hoping for clarity. Lin tells her honestly that Jiang is not the kind of person who would restrict her future or stand in the way of her success. She encourages Juan to think independently and not let fear guide her decision. However, during this conversation, Jiang happens to overhear parts of what is being said from outside. Standing there silently, he processes the fact that Huan might leave for an opportunity she has worked for all her life. For the first time, he begins to question his own role in her future. A difficult thought forms in his mind, whether loving her might mean stepping aside if that is what allows her to become truly happy. The situation becomes emotionally heavier, setting the stage for a choice that will determine not just their relationship, but the direction of both their lives.